Hey, how's it going,
Hey
my
man,
friend?
how's it going?
There's an alien behind you,
What?
man. Yeah, dude.
Alien?
Yeah, alien. Yes, dude.
Behind
There's
me?
actually a few. There are face huggers everywhere, brother.
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, well, look around.
Oh,
There you go.
what did I
There
tell
you
you?
go. Yeah, go kill him.
Trying to have a podcast here.
Yes, indeed.
Jeez,
Beautiful too.
good thing my lightsaber's nearby.
Yes, sir. There's a lot more of
Good to
them.
go now, though.
You don't care? Okay. Well, yeah, let's get started then, man.
The Nerd Frenzy Podcast.
Hey guys, this is Nick from the Nerd Frenzy Podcast, and today we are talking about the Alien movies. And we have my wonderful, beautiful Dave Ray Suminski.
That's me. What's up?
David, it's great to have you on the show again. We did Star Wars last time, and you were definitely the perfect person to do that with. So, and you and I have also, maybe even equally, have talked about our love for the Alien universe too. So, it had to be you.
Good choice. And before we get going, I have a little question for you.
Yeah, of course, bud. What's up?
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
I had to bring that one up. My
I've
favorite
been,
joke in this movie.
I've been saying that one. Yeah, people are going to go home now. They're like, hey, I have this excellent joke that I heard in the podcast, and I had to tell it to all of you because it was that good.
Yep. For people that don't know, what is it like? Hicks or Hudson? Like telling the
Hudson.
girl who's doing the girl's like real manly doing pull-ups, like because she looks kind of like she kind of looks like a dude. She's just really ripped.
She's a badass bitch who's just as capable as the guys in this. And you pretty much see both these characters. Hudson, of course, played by the wonderful Bill Paxton, R.I.P., is doing his typical thing that he does, just kind of being obnoxious and, charming, but yet a prick at the same time. And then of course we have Drake, who just like, slaps at her hand and goes, "Oh, you're just too bad," and then she slaps him across the face, and he likes it.
He just too bad.
It's like, oh, this movie is going to be good.
Classic. We've sent that one to each other in text a few times, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I use Hudson quotes for a lot of my daily, with my little emojis things. People are like, hey, this has been a bad day, and the first thing I'm going to say is, game over, man.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
You're in charge.
But let's jump back. Let's start ourselves at the very first one in 1979, my friend, called Alien.
Yeah. That was a good movie. It's almost considered more of a horror movie at the time, maybe, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Like it was literally like a haunted mansion, but in a spaceship.
Yeah. You didn't really know what was going on. You're like, where's the alien? And why? I don't know. Like, the most iconic thing for me was like when they came out of the chest. It's like, whoa, what is going on? Then you didn't really know it was going to grow into a big alien until it happened, of course.
Oh, absolutely. And the cool thing about that part too is whenever the alien did come out of his chest, only the actor and the crew knew that was going to happen that way. And I guess it was really hot where they were, and this was done on purpose by director Ridley Scott, because he wanted them to be almost claustrophobic and kind of pissed off in real life, and it would show in the performance. So they did all these things, and they put all these things in there, and they're all kind of doing their lines and whatnot, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, it just pops out of his chest, and then just, all the blood and everything just splatters all over the actors, with them having no idea, and then you see like genuine like shock from them because he tricked them all, and I'm thinking, these are the kind of things that make performances, which were already really good in this movie, that it surpassed to the next level of a horror movie. And of course, my friend, the movie is unsettling, and it's slow paced, but it's constantly entertaining too. I love it.
Yeah. Probably the first movie I remember where a female was like the lead role, like a hero kind of, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Good call. In fact, I remember it was also not only was she this badass, empowering woman, it was believable. It wasn't like she was running around picking up dudes and throwing them across the room, kind of unbelievable. It's like, guys, come on. It was this girl who was.
Smarts.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But she was scared the whole time throughout the whole movie. She wasn't just running around going, "I'm going to kill you, alien, because I'm awesome."
Yeah.
It was like this just woman who you could see in real life, and knowing like, hey, survival right now. Everything has to kick in. I have to just snap out of this whole little thing that everyone else is in, this little panic that everyone else is in. I gotta be, the survivor here, and she becomes even more than Princess Leia, because Princess Leia, there was times when they kind of almost had like little, like, let's add little elements to when, like, hey, we got to make Princess Leia like this awesome girl. But with Ripley, she had this, everything was just believable and just like, okay, yeah, I could see that, like the neighbors next door. You put them in a situation and you see what they have to do, and it was like this movie the whole time where they're like, hey, a cat and mouse game back and forth, and done brilliantly.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of cool things. We have to talk about the creator of the makeup effects, H.R. Geiger. He's just Swedish guy who was kind of an odd one, but all of his designs of the alien thing. Now, this is a crazy fact for you that kind of makes you feel uncomfortable, and it should. But the whole idea, he used to do all these paintings of these aliens representations, and the whole idea was of rape, and the alien would be raping another without their consent, and so that was the whole idea of without the host's permission, putting an egg inside their mouth, and then it pops out of their chest. That whole idea was kind of off that whole, like, I don't give you consent, and then it makes us feel uncomfortable because the last thing in the world we want to do is to be touched when we tell you not to touch us, kind of thing. And that was his whole goal, is to make you uncomfortable. And when it all happens, it's very unsettling, and it's just because these small little decisions that they made that make this alien such a scary entity.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he just basically picked off everyone in the crew one by one until she was the only one left.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she had to outsmart it, basically. It was kind of a weird ending. Like, she's like hiding from it. Didn't really know she was there, I thought.
We were talking about that the other day, how you were watching it and you're like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of odd that they did that. And I didn't say at the time, but I guess the only logical response I could tell you is 1979, and they still had that whole, like, you see the monster kind of just like walking over to you like this, or zombie, and it's just kind of like, okay, cool. But one thing they did differently, which was kind of a step up, and I think allowed monster movies to be a little more creative, was they started doing these things where they would change the whole. Instead of just saying, "Oh, I'm a scary monster walking around," they're changing its whole thing. Acid for blood, and it can hang upside down. It could run fast. It does all these things. It has an extendable mouth that comes out. Almost, it's really hard to kill. I mean, it's this indestructible, badass species that causes pretty much all of the group to try to kill it, and then one, Ash, the robot, to try to keep it alive because of us as being idiot humans. We have to study it.
And they have alien or acid blood, which was always I thought was really cool. Like, sink all the way through the ship and just drip, drip, drip. That was a good idea we'd never seen before.
Oh, and then the reason why this one is such an excellent movie and still stands strong as being top, if not the top, is there's elements to this movie that add like an authentic feel to it, where like the acid does go through that, and instead of a typical like, oh no, here's acid, you see like Ash, like, he goes, hey, don't touch it, get back, and you see all these like authentic reactions, almost like they're like oh dude, okay, and you feel like it's almost like one step above being like a documentary almost. It's just filmed that kind of gritty way where all these actors are not actors, they're actually a crew of people who are just kind of stuck on this. They've been stuck with each other for years, and then how they're talking to each other back and forth. How all the guys are all being kind of sexist toward the women, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you later, and all the women are like, oh yeah, screw you, because they have that kind of almost mentality where they treat her like that, and then it goes throughout the rest of the movie, and the pacing and everything just makes this movie. And then every single person that dies in the movie, you feel it because of all the interactions and all the authentic conversations they had throughout the movie in the first place. So it's a perfect movie in my opinion.
Yeah, it was kind of. I read actually that it was inspired from the Star Wars movies because this came out 2 years after Star Wars, and like the science fiction genre was kicking off big time, with special effects and aliens and stuff like that. But I also read that she only made $35,000 for that movie for acting. Then the next movie she made, I think it was like $3 million. Then the next one after that was like $35 million. So she was making a huge increase in money because they were obviously successful movies.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not sure exactly what the numbers would be, but I'd imagine that she probably set the bar for a lot of women actors to kind of get in there and be like, hey, I mean, this chick just did it, and she did it in a badass way. I mean, so hey, let's go ahead and see if I can do it too. And it's transcenders like that you can't help but like look up to in a certain kind of regard, and just be like, hey, good job being a pioneer of some sort. And like I to this day will tell people like, hey, because there's a lot of stupid talk on the internet and on the TV and stuff saying how there's still not really been any female representation as really awesome characters, and I'm thinking, I mean, I disagree with that because I'm thinking I've been seeing movies like Ripley for long time where the women are these badass characters, and you're like, oh, good for you, you're awesome. I will watch as many movies as you make because you're an awesome lead character. But I know that's just the politics of things. But
first one actually didn't have that much special effects, really, did they? Because it was just the ship mainly. The alien was pretty much all costume in one, wasn't it?
Yep, the alien was this big old tall, like a 7'1" guy who literally just like, it was like a lot of times we just kind of would just do like the typical walking in your thing, but every once in a while they had to have him hanging upside down or whatnot. But pretty much special effects and that kind of thing was all practical. But yeah, it shows too, because you can watch a movie like that 500 years later and it doesn't necessarily look fake because your eyes can detect like there is an actual object there. Where I mean, I don't know if it'll ever be possible technically or theoretically if you can actually trick the eye so well that it's like, oh no, that's definitely real, and they're like, no, it's not. But
yeah,
who knows if we get there.
1 and 2 looked more real than 3 did, because 3 had a lot of moments where they're like, you could tell they're computer animated.
Mm-hmm. And that's a problem with that time too. Is they're trying to, oh, we got this new technology, we're trying to push it a little bit, but there's going to be a cost, and the cost is the audience is going to look at it going, that looks stupid. But then it's someone that does that. Like I remember, like I know exactly what you're talking about, Alien 3, where you see like them running really quick at it, and just like, okay, and they take you out of the moment completely. But it was moments like that where people are watching and going, okay, I see what they did, I can do something better than that, and then that's just the evolution of doing that, and then it eventually causes movies like The Matrix to come out and then say, okay, I've been watching these movies and I'm going to redefine it myself, and
yeah.
But I'm still a man of practical effects myself. Like I said, I do not. I hate whenever someone puts an effect in somewhere and it just completely throws me out of the picture. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to. And visual effects should only be used technically for enhancing practical effects too. So
yeah, we're spoiled nowadays. Back then, we might not have realized how cheesy it looked. So
yeah, very true, very true.
So you could say it looked bad in 3, but back 10, 20 years ago, we're like, oh, that looks awesome, looks amazing.
I know, and that was in 1992 or 91, so that was like 25 years ago. I mean, it was, and and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it had a lot of issues too. So, but Aliens, which Aliens 2, technically, that is yours and my top Alien movie. I think, even though Alien is so amazing, Aliens is that, and then it's like action packed too.
Yeah, it's like you've mentioned before, the Terminator 2. It's like it still has all the luster, all the good, whatever the word is for it. Like it's just as good as the first one, but even more action, maybe you could say.
And not in a Michael Bay kind of way where it kind of cheapens everything. It's more of a, oh, this thing's happening, but I have a stomachache because I don't want anything bad to happen to these characters, and that kind of way. Like a lot of times I watch like a Michael Bay movie or someone who does like just like big old boom boom boom, and they don't understand that you need substance in there too, and I'm just seeing fake things, just like, oh, they looks pretty, but so what? Because they're slapping each other back and forth, and I don't care because they're fake. I can see they're fake, but when you have someone like these guys do it, it just it just felt so real. So
Yeah. Like the middle, obviously, it takes them a minute to get. They always start out on a ship, and she's always in a ship waking up from a hypersleep or something like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 3 movies in a row she's doing the same thing pretty much. It's kind of funny.
Yep, same start and same ending pretty much. And it seems like we talked about this on the phone. I'm sure we talked about this on the phone 15 times in our life, but we talked about it recently too. And it's just like, hey guys, you did the Star Wars thing kind of. You just kept on like recycling and repeating, and it can work for a while, but after a while, it's like we're not stupid people. We need to hey, I'm seeing what you're doing, so stop doing that.
They spice it up a little bit, like with the Queen, like her going down to the nest and firing everything up, like with her flamethrower.
Yes.
But of course, they end 1 and 2 with her blowing one out of the airlock in the middle of space.
Yes.
A little like the Death Star, a little like repeat, like, come on, be a little more creative here.
Mm-hmm.
It was still good. It was still good.
And
she used a little giant robot pincher guy. That was cool.
Get away from her, you bitch!
I very much agree. I very much and Bishop was a really, really cool, and it was like, and he was the cool thing about his character was she did not trust him immediately because of what Ash did in the first one. Ash was, like I said, he was trying to get to take that to Earth, and which obviously, as we've seen all these monster movies and Jurassic Park and all these things, never a good idea because we can't control it, something like that. And of course, that's the issue. But yeah, we luckily we kill Ash, and then we kill the alien. But then here comes Bishop, and he's like, oh, that's an old design, faulty. I am the blah blah blah. And she's sitting there looking at him, going like, I don't care, I hate you. And then she's like, you better stay away from me. And I'm like, ooh, tension. But Aliens does what sequels are hard because, like I said, most sequels will do where they have the story and they're like, okay, now we need to have the second story and it needs to be louder and faster and stronger. And that's not necessarily what a good sequel does. Yes, Terminator 2 and Aliens does that, but the reason why they're maybe better than the original is because they took the original story and they elevated it, and they made the story have much more characterization in it. It allowed everything to just feel much more cohesive.
It was more exciting having more than one alien too that you were worried about the whole time.
Mm-hmm. The first one was hard to kill, and the reason is because they didn't really have machine guns and whatnot. But it was that's what made the first one possibly better than the second one, is because it was more about the strategy of trying to kill this thing, and that's why sucking it out into space definitely is the best strategy to do that, and that makes sense. But of course they do it again and again. But the reason why the second one is our favorite is because it's the first one with a bunch more action, but guess what? We know now more to the story of these aliens and now what their purpose is, and now we know that they're like ants or bees, and there's a queen, and it's not just a bigger and badder. There's a purpose to her, and she's scary, and everything that happens, and it forces Ripley kind of into this mother mode, because we find out in the beginning of the movie that she lost her daughter, that she never got to go back and see, and it adds much more character development to all these characters, and then you're thinking, how can you do that to a bunch of army idiots, but all these army idiots, every time one of them gets hurt or whatnot, you're like, no.
I heard they were trained by actual like Marines and stuff for the movie, I guess, a little bit. So they had the motions and actions down of what they do in real life, I guess.
Ah, very cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did you know that to make whenever the alien thing would come out and then it'd be like slobbering out of it, they actually would take condoms and then melt it, and then it would add that thick kind of saliva look to it, and that's what they did. So
Yeah, I heard it was some KY jelly too and stuff
Yep,
like
yep,
that.
yep. They had a little mixture of certain things. I just wanted to kind of keep it like I want to keep it gross, but yes, you're right. They did add some other things too, and I just remember thinking like that's awesome. You guys are creative. Good for you.
Did all the aliens have the thing come out of their mouth, or was that just the queen or certain ones? Do you remember? I don't remember.
Oh no, it's all of them. Yeah.
All of them? Okay. Well, what was behind that? Do you really know, or is it just a cool thing they did? I never really.
Like I said, that is I think a symbol for penis, and like I said, it's a form of rape because it's also like without my permission. And if you see any of his H.R. Geiger's art, it's very hard and it's very dark and you can tell he's probably that kid in school that no one liked. He's like the Napoleon Dynamite, but not for having nunchuck skills, but for drawing really dark, weird, demonic stuff. But he was brilliant, and you can see his work, and his work was also in the Species movies too. That was all him as well. So
Good transition over to 3. The big thing we discussed we didn't like was how she's the only survivor over to 3, besides the alien or the robot. What was it? Bishop?
Bishop, yeah. Which I mean, I mean, do you call a robot a survivor? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We in our like in media and how we have viewed robots and how in movies and stuff. Yeah, we do. They're like almost like dogs for us. Like oh yeah, you're. I'm just joking.
Good one.
But yeah, Alien 3, it had a lot of problems, and sadly, it was directed by the famous director David Fincher, who did movies like Fight Club and Seven. But it was also with Fox Studios, and funny enough, the first one, Ridley Scott, and the second one, James Cameron, they didn't really get any resistance from Fox Studios. But David Fincher, being kind of a new director at that time, they kept on screwing up the script and changing it, and then sadly, even our woman Sigourney Weaver, she was a producer of the third one, and she started changing a little bit of it too, and it completely destroyed the whole thing. And you can see definitely elements of wonderfulness in it. Like there's a lot of acting moments, like when all like the prisoners are trying to like to get Sigourney Weaver, and then you have that one guy, the black guy, who's just like he beats him up and he says hey, and then he's a holy man because he found God because he's trying to atone for his sins and whatnot, and it's showing these complicated characters, and he has a whole flock of other prisoners who are trying to be good Christians too, but yet they're in a situation where they want to get Sigourney Weaver, and it was really good. It was well written, but then they started screwing it up, and it started getting worse and worse, and finally David Fincher left the project, and then they just brought in a yes man to do exactly what Fox Studios wanted to do, and that was our result.
Yeah, it wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't bad. It was just average. It was the worst of the 3, probably, of those 3.
Definitely the worst of the 3, but not even close to the worst. In fact, I think it's my number 3 on there, and sadly, I will have to say that even though I found a lot of good qualities about all these other movies after the second one, I will pretty much say that they pretty much were less than my expectations whenever for the first 2. So I still to this day have not been pleased in any kind of way that I have with the first 2.
Yeah, and kind of proved that she can't die. She, no matter what she does to herself, she tries to sacrifice herself to get rid of all the alien. I don't know story. Was that the last alien or something? But it was in her chest, and then she died. And supposedly died.
That was in Alien 3. She had it right away, and of course they had that cop out by having Hicks and Newt. They drowned, and it was just like I said, it was just because Fox Studios wanted to scrap that project. They kind of did the whole Last Jedi, but with this one, he's like, hey, let's just screw all that stuff that we accomplished in the first ones, and then let's just kind of start fresh and just do our own thing. And they're like, well, no, because we've grown attached to those characters, and they survived this craziness. They all like a family, mother, father, daughter. And then they just like, oh, we don't want to deal with them because it's not part of the story we want, so let's just kill them off real quick. And I'm like, oh. And I remember watching it in theaters and going like, and I remember just like, oh, I hate that decision. And still to this day, it kind of haunts me. But I mean, it's still compared to other movies, it's not bad. And there are performances like she shaves her head, she tries to be the most like them. There's a lot of excellent acting going on by the prisoners. I like how they had a lot of, even though a lot of the aliens looked fake, a lot of the shots they were trying to provide were. I see what they were trying to. They were trying to make the alien like much more agile and like not just like walk around like in a suit almost. Like, it was more like, running on the walls and stuff. And then how they did the camera movement when they're spinning the camera around when they run through the tunnels, and it's kind of showing like almost like a perspective of the alien. And it's kind of making us like, oh my gosh, you can see that the alien's close to them, and it's giving you kind of a stomach ache. That is accomplished really good things. And then her sacrificing herself, realizing that, and Bishop comes back and he's evil Bishop again. He's like human Bishop that programs Bishop later on, which that's kind of confusing because they did the Aliens vs Predator later on. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But he comes back and then she ends up, he's like trying to take the alien, take it back, and then trying to trick the whole thing, trying to trick her again. So then she jumps in this big old lava thing and then goes out like with a bang.
Yep. But she's not dead.
But she doesn't.
I guess that's why they call it Alien Resurrection, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, don't resurrect that, no.
They resurrected her, is what they were going for, I guess. It wasn't even called Alien 4, it was just Resurrection.
Right, yeah. It was just called Aliens Resurrection. Because they always do that. It'll be either Alien or Aliens, and Alien if there's just one, and Aliens if there's many. So, yeah, Aliens Resurrection.
There was multiple aliens in Resurrection, though.
Yes, there is. So we're on Aliens Resurrection. Now, this is... let me see. This is second to last for me. And this is, I think, what, third for you? Or
fourth.
Fourth for you, okay. So what I wonder what the difference of opinions is, because that's a big difference.
I just thought it was Ripley played like a different role in this movie. She wasn't so human-y. She was like almost like robot-y because she was cloned, so.
Mm-hmm. And she had she moved around a lot, like very slowly, yeah.
Creepily, she had like different motions, and wasn't she still like the mother of one of them aliens? Still, kind of, they could sense that she was kind of one of them, or something.
Yeah, because she was mixed in with them, and since she's a female, I'm guessing only males are the the worker bees or the attack bees, and then the females are the ones that lay all the eggs. So of course they're treated like they're the queens. So I'd imagine that's why they were doing that too, because they sensed that it was in her, and that whole part, by the way, I still don't understand what that meant. Like, does that mean like they were with each other?
I don't know.
To create the alien at the end, like where did they have sex, or was it one? I don't. It's weird, and I'm guessing they left it out for that very reason. Like, this is too weird to try to show, but
yeah, the weird alien near the end, the creepy looking with the eyes like yellowish, and she was doing some weird stuff to that one. She was like filling his face, like they were messing around. It was just weird.
Well, because I guess like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't it didn't really show it. Maybe it did. I guess I would try to turn it off in my head, but I just remember like Mama when she was trying to kill it, and because the thing, and I'm thinking, are you guys trying to make me feel sorry for this thing? Because I don't. All I'm thinking of is ew, Sigourney Weaver. Like what's going on? But I do what you're saying with her character. It was fun and stuff. It's just it was just kind of weird to see this person who went from like a survivalist to like, and then she's kind of like the first thing she pretty much says is like who do I have to screw to get off this ship? And I'm thinking like, oh, that's not really a Sigourney Weaver move, but I did find it refreshing because I like Sigourney Weaver the actor. So I'm thinking, well, that's kind of cool and unique. And she's obviously a superhuman because she's mixed with the alien. So she's like this mutant, and she's throwing the basketball in there easily, and she's kind of like talking crap to everyone because she knows she can back it up by just beating them up real quick or whatnot. And then the acid for blood, and it was different, but I guess I didn't. The whole idea of Ripley's journey is destroy them at any cost, and I appreciate that as a superhero kind of character, and it was a beautiful sentiment. But then they kind of, in my opinion, the reason why this is like one of the bottom is because then they brought her back just for a movie to make more money on, but they also kind of destroyed like what made Ripley a good character in the first place a little bit.
Yeah, she wasn't really the hero she usually is in her humanly way, I guess. Even though I just realized this is the third movie where an alien sucked into space. They started doing it in a different way. It's like that one was pretty gross though, because it was like all his skin and his flesh and then his bones were. It's like, ugh.
Yeah,
As a kid,
it was
I remember-
cool, and they probably had this like garbage disposal thing that was just like shooting food out or whatnot. But
Yeah. And then that's the last movie she's actually in, isn't it? Right? Yeah.
yep, absolutely.
Like, how did I can't remember how she went off into the sunset. She didn't die, did she?
No, it was literally like her and Winona Ryder's character. She was the robot.
Yeah.
They were flying back, and Winona Ryder's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do now that you're going back to Earth?" And she's just
That's
like,
what it was.
"Yeah." And then she's like, I've never been technically, so we'll see." And then that's the end of it. And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah. It did kind of anticlimactic, sort of.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah."
Earth-
There's also I think another reason I didn't like the movie too much was the tone was not right for what I thought. I thought the humor was off. They were trying to go for almost like a slapstick humor some of the time with the soldiers and whatnot, and how they were just kind of like running around and kind of just runaway jokes. And I thought most of the characters I didn't care if they died. The only characters I did not want to die was the ones that I knew from previous movies that I liked in their movies, like Ron Perlman, and he's always great. You know, he's the big old tall monkey looking guy that's the play the Hellboy. I mean, I like his character, but I just felt like they had all these almost like these outlaw like mercenary Han Solo like characters, like just kind of assholes, and these assholes just have to all of a sudden we just walk into a shit storm, and let's just deal with it. I like the concept. I just felt like the way the movie was put out, just it felt kind of just not the aliens I guess I'm used to.
the character development. It wasn't really like one or two at all. It was his own genre almost. It was kind of different than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to put a finger on what it was.
It was more of a sci-fi movie than it was a like sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
They were not trying to necessarily scare you with the aliens. They were more just trying to show like how cool the aliens were. Like when the aliens were swimming underneath the water, and they're just like, oh, look what we can do with a few more years after Alien 3 with our technology. And I'm thinking, I mean, I can still see it, guys. I can still see the airs, but they try to replace it with fun characters, but some of the characters I didn't give a shit about, and it's just too bad because, like I said, even Alien 3. I was still kind of like, yep, you got him too. Oh, no. And then, of course, the first two, every single character that died, I was like, oh, no, that breaks my heart. But, yeah, this one, I was just like, just go ahead and just start running through them. I mean, you can kill whoever. I don't care.
Yeah, maybe we're just used to her being the only survivor every time. So we're just like, whatever.
Mm,
Whoever lives.
yeah. And it was kind of, you can tell, too, they were trying to reinvent the whole thing. But, like I said, I think the biggest slap to the face, in my opinion, is just don't put someone who went through this epic journey to try to solve this problem to now be the problem. I didn't like that, but
Yeah. I like how they were capturing them, even though it was kind of cheesy. Like, and then they like turn on the freezing stuff if ever they were misbehaving. And then they eventually killed one of their own just to escape. Showed how smart they were, kind of.
Absolutely. So on that note, let's jump to the next one, which would be Alien vs. Predators.
Yeah, that one. I like that one quite a bit. It was more recent, more modern, I guess. And we love Predator too, so it's cool to see. It was kind of like King Kong versus Godzilla. You're like, who's gonna win? This is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Or Freddy versus Jason. It's one of those things that you put these two that were separately very successful, but yet you're thinking, how cool would that be if they just kind of, because you just put them in the same universe, they just did that thing, and then all of a sudden someone says, hey, I'm going to make a comic book about it, so let's do that. And then the comic book was really successful, and they're like, you know what, we're going to do a movie.
I think they pulled it off pretty well. It was a good story. I mean, we're used to them like putting the alien in your stomach and chesting out and growing up super huge in like 5 minutes, but it's cheesy, but we're used to it. Like,
yeah, and I have a lot of cheesy things to say. I could say about the movie, and I have a lot of good things to say about the movie. It's one of those movies for me that if it's on, I'll watch it because I mean I am definitely entertained by the movie. I feel like it holds my attention for the most part the whole time, and that's a good quality. One thing I did not like about it was, again, the characters were kind of well, like I didn't care necessarily about the characters. I did like the main lady. I thought she was excellent, and I liked what they were going for with the whole. And that's one thing about the Predator too. Predator is not technically a bad guy. It's a hunter, and as a hunter, it's not going to see a baby and go, "Oh, I'm going to kill this baby," because there's no honor in that. And I find that to be such a cool thing. And of course, when you see the Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Danny Glover movies, the first two, it's like, oh, this is a cool character, and then we get to see this really awesome backstory, almost like this Jesus Christ backstory back in the ancient, civilization days, but it's of the predators being tested as warriors, and they have to go through these really hard challenges, and one of the biggest ones was go into this big old temple and then just allow these aliens to try to kill you, and you have to kill all the aliens, and then there's a lot of them, and I thought what a cool. I mean, if you're thinking like the grandest idea, that's like up there, and I'm thinking, good job, guys! What a great start for this movie. So,
And that one was your fifth favorite?
Yep, fifth. Let me see here. It is my fifth favorite.
Yeah, I like the big fight scenes they built up to. Watching them like swinging one by the tail and get face to face. Then Bishop was in the movie too, right? Which version of him was it though? Like the original or the?
That's where they kind of got confusing. Now, what really happened was they said, hey, we have Lance Hendrickson, the actor. We could definitely have him in here because people would love that, and we'll just call him Bishop, and we'll try to have this quick little like, oh yeah, I'm the real Bishop, but. Just in the way like the timeline worked, it's like, okay, that would have made sense if it would have been just Aliens 2, but since Alien 3 came out, that kind of confuses me because that means you're that bad guy who came out later on and tried to get the specimen, and then I'm sure they had a reason for that too, but it was still kind of starting to get a little chalky. So I'm like, I'm glad you're here, because it's really nice to see you here, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and nobody technically won because. Their aliens survived at the end. They came out the chest or the face at the very end of the movie, right, of one of the predators that got back on the ship.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and you know exactly what's going to happen with that. But it was like it was filmed in Antarctica. It was the set design was excellent. I liked the story. I liked the concept of the main lead being with the predator and trying to kill the aliens together. I thought it was a cool idea. A little corny, but not in a bad way. It was barely on the cusp of me not going like, guys. It was just right there going like, this is cool. I like this. And then he does the little like the trophy thing on her forehead to imply like you have killed an alien. And I thought this is like the kind of predator I want to see. And then I remember whenever the scary alien came at the end, and it was the queen.
Yeah.
And she was just just badass bitch, and you see like the predator and the lady get all together. They're all about ready to fight, and then they did a really cool little fight scene for a little bit, and then all of a sudden the predator gets stabbed, and I remember thinking, this hurts my heart more than any other character in this movie who's died.
made you care about a predator alien. You're kind of cheering for them after that at a certain point in the movie.
Yes.
First, you didn't know who to cheer for, what was going on, but then you're like, predators are kind of the good guys in a weird way.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's knowing about these characters that we've seen these movies, all the Alien movies and then all the Predator movies, we kind of already knew that the Predator was not, like, at the end of the day, the Predator's not the bad guy. I mean, he is, but like I said, he's not gonna, if he sees a, like, in this one, for example, when he sees Bishop, he's about ready to kill Bishop, but then he does this little thing on it and sees that Bishop has a really nasty cancer. And so he's just like, oh, you're not worth it. So he just kind of throws him, like pushes him, like literally pushes him away. And then Bishop, being the prideful idiot he is, he's like, no, you will not walk away from me. And he's about ready to like shoot him or whatnot. And then the Predator's like, well, I have to kill you now. So.
Yeah. Or wait, didn't it? I was thinking it let him live because it saw the X-ray vision of like his heart cancer or something like that.
And it walked away. But then the like I said, Bishop was being stupid, and then he started like messing with the Predator again. So the Predator's like, okay, I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah. It's been a while since I watched that one, but yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, but there were things like the guy who directed it, Paul W. Anderson. He did Mortal Kombat, and then he did the Resident Evil movies. He has kind of a certain cheesy effect to his movies too. But I appreciate that he's one of the only directors who tries to tackle like video game movies, because most video game movies are garbage, and a lot of his video game movies are garbage too. But I appreciate someone trying to do content that's really hard. But doing this, there were things about it that I really appreciated. Like I said, he was doing almost like fanboy stuff. Like, oh, let's have the alien and a human being fight together. These are ideas that are really interesting. But then he had a lot of things that were kind of, like I said, it's characters that are just getting killed off, and you like didn't really care. But I say, for what it was a step up in terms of trying to bring. It was obviously created by a guy who loved both of the franchise, so I appreciate that.
I just realized that they used a woman again to be kind of the main hero of the show.
Mm-hmm. And she was coming off the Love and Basketball movies, so she was kind of a hot shit at that moment. So they're like, "Yep, we'll use you."
All right. So what was the one after that chronologically? Was it going to be 82 technically?
It would have been Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Yep.
Yeah, because the other ones are kind of way in the future, aren't they?
Yep.
Or
And, well, they're filmed later on too. I mean, I don't know if we're doing it in that kind of. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Requiem was the next one that was released.
Yes, it was, and that's the one that we talked about before, where we were living with Cody Puckett, and he came back from the theater, and he said, "Guys, this movie sucks," and and you and I disagree a little bit on this one. You found there to be a lot of decent qualities about it, and I almost found none.
I mean, I like that they were like. First of all, they were in Colorado, which
they're in Gunnison. Yeah, they're in Gunnison.
Yep. Then they were kind of like in like a normal neighborhood, not like in Antarctica like they were in the previous one, or in space or somewhere. It was just like it felt like they were in your neighborhood. Like you kind of get the feel like they could be around the corner when you're. I don't know. I mean, it made it more. I don't know what the right word is for that. Like more realistic in some ways, because they were in like the high school, they were in the sewers, they were in just places that more horror-y type of places. If that's the right word.
Yeah, what is the like horror-ish? I don't know, but yeah, it is, and me personally, like I would find the exact opposite of that. I think that even though I know what you're saying, like there's nothing scarier than something like an actual wolf that is hungry for human flesh, because that's a realistic thing. But I have always thought what makes alien stuff scary is, first of all, these people are always in this atmosphere that they don't understand, and they usually like, okay, I don't. This place is foreign. I don't know what this is. What's that? What's this? And it makes me feel like, oh, you being clueless makes this scarier for me as an audience member. But like they did in Jurassic Park 2, where they said, hey, let's go ahead and bring the dinosaurs to people. And I get what they're trying to establish with that, but I felt like that's whenever the movie kind of started being, a flaw. I thought, well, I don't really care as much anymore, because now it's just like, okay, cool, this is going to be a typical, destruction, going to break a lot of buildings, and then they're going to contain it, and that's going to be the end of it. And I was like, okay, the first one didn't have to do that. The first one had its own beautiful whole arc, but yeah, when movies do that, sometimes it's kind of like it just rubs me the wrong way.
So you like the space or the alien planet vibe more than an Earth vibe, I guess you're trying to say. Yeah,
but I mean, it is still kind of unfair to say that, because the Predator is pretty much in this whole Earth vibe. That's kind of what we know him from too. I mean, that's where
never seen the planet, yeah.
But it's just, I guess I just felt like it was in my opinion, an unwelcome change. It wasn't something that felt refreshing to me, and I think the two biggest flaws I found about Alien vs. Predator's Requiem is it was directed by two people that were visual effects artists, but they never directed a movie before. But they knew how to just make stuff look good, so that's where they were hired. But the problem is, I didn't feel like the visual effects shots were good, and I think they knew that. So you could tell, like every time you see one of the aliens or predators, it's like really dark in the room. And,
yeah, it was. Yeah,
and that's because they were hiding a lot of the imperfections. And I remember thinking, guys, that's the whole fun of it. Like, I don't want to see, like, oh, like there's a lantern, and every time the lantern swings by, you see an alien. I want to see that at times, because when you want to like a horror movie, you see the light flashing back and forth, and then like it flashes 2 times, and by the 3rd time you see the ghost face or whatnot. That's fine. But in this kind of situation, it doesn't seem to work that way. So I don't know.
Yeah, and they tried to sneak in like a love story too. That was a little cheesy, but it was interesting. But it was whatever. And I don't have any scenes that really stood out from that movie though. Now that I think about it, like I don't remember the aliens and predators fighting very much.
No, because they didn't. But I guess the only thing that happened that was kind of unique was showing the Predalien fighting the Predator that was trying to kill.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. But like I said, it was also in the dark, and it was just kind of showing quick little cut scenes of them fighting. It wasn't showing like this, like them looking at each other, then all of a sudden them running at each other, then boom, boom, boom. It's showing like just quick little glimpses of them doing their thing, and then by the end of it, they're both killing each other, and you're like, okay.
it's like that scene in Game of Thrones with the undead, where it's so dark you can't tell what's going on.
I know that bringing up Game of Thrones, and eventually there needs to be a Game of Thrones podcast. But that the last few seasons were, I mean, I guess technically the last season was the one that really hurt, but the last two seasons before that, they were changing the pace of the whole thing. And it kind of screwed up, and I was like, guys, you should have had maybe 3 more seasons. But that's a Game of Thrones scene, and my heart's still broken from that. So please don't bring that up again.
What you made me think about, yeah. And then I think the end of this movie, don't they just nuke Gunnison basically?
Yeah,
Like,
so you have these two main characters, and one says let's go this way, and the other one says no, let's go that way, and then the people who went that way all end up dying in the nuke, and the ones who went that way were saved. So it was kind of like, ooh, that's not good.
it's like we don't know, we don't have a good ending, so we're just gonna kill everybody, and that stayed.
And you know what? Colorado has already been through so much. Don't do any of that. We don't deserve that, okay? And Gunnison's a beautiful area, so.
Why Gunnison? So after that one was Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus.
Yeah, I just watched that one the other day.
Yeah, I was at your house when you were watching it.
Yeah, you saw me finishing it off. You liked that one more than I did. That was near the bottom one.
Yes, I did like that one. In fact, I feel like that one was. I feel like that one's been kind of shafted a little too hard.
Yeah, what did you like so much about that one?
Well, first of all, I find it to be when someone tries to kind of reimagine, like not reimagine, but try to make a whole world like J.K. Rowling did for Harry Potter, and it's really hard to do. And most books and movie stuff aren't as successful as others, but it is really hard to build this world. And Prometheus, even though it was confusing, it had a lot of ambition, and I see what they were trying to accomplish, and I give it kudos for trying to make the franchise refreshing. Now, sadly, people said, "Oh, we want more of the alien thing." So then, they did that the movie afterwards, and people didn't like that either. So I think a lot of it's just this. Ridley Scott came back. He hasn't done anything else since the first one, in terms of the alien movies, and people were excited. He did Prometheus. People were excited because it's going to show how this all came to be, and then the movie had more questions than answers by the end of it, and it was probably it was frustrating to the audience, and it pissed a lot of people off, and it pissed me off too. And I'm thinking, okay, well, thanks guys. Now this whole thing's more complex, and now I know way less than I did, coming into this whole thing. But given it years, I remember I watched it here and there, and I remember thinking there's definitely elements of excellence in this. It's just it was shadowed by the idea that people were expecting something else.
Was it made to be a origin story type movie? Like,
not necessarily origin. It's just before this, because we find out at the end of the movie is because we're trying to find out did these guys create us, and then we found out yes they did, but who created them? And that was another story. And then they want to find out
guys that fell in the waterfall in the beginning. Is that who created the aliens?
Yeah, that's created us.
Oh, humans?
Yes, because in the very beginning of the movie, they dropped that tablet thing, or they dropped that thing into the ocean, and then they also like decompose into the ocean, and then it creates like life and whatnot.
Like, why did he fall in there? I never really figured that out. I just watched it. I was like, he drank. Oh yeah, he drank something.
And it broke him down, and I think he became like he was able. It's whatever creation they are, they're able to like reproduce into some kind of DNA, and I think he's kind of became the DNA of that planet, and it allowed like I don't know if it was all life or it was just human life, but that's how they created us. And then the alien, the goo was created on accident, kind of as a weapon, and as kind of like an experiment that became a weapon. And as we saw, it was this weird like symbiote like substance that when it attaches to anything, it kind of changes its DNA with that thing and becomes mutated. And I found that whole notion to be extremely cool. It's just there was a lot of too much complex ideals put out that was just confusing everyone. But the simple things like where the goo came from and how that quickly mutates things. I thought that was a cool idea. It was just too much going on, and it was just like, hey guys, and then at the end of it doesn't answer the questions that we were asking. It just says, hell, well, to find out more, wait till the next movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about that one. It was, like you said, confusing. Like, what's going on here? And then they had, again, Covenant and Prometheus mixed up a little bit. Like, was this the one where there was the guy was like twitching like crazy, and the alien came out of his back or his front, or was that the other movie?
No, that was the other movie. Yep. That was Covenant.
Aliens at all until the very end. Then, whenever something got on the big dude's face, and when they're in the ship and came out at the very end when you were at my house.
Well, yeah, that was at the very end. There's a couple parts that happen that show us how the goo works, and that like it evolves that one guy when it gets into his mask, because for some stupid reason he takes his mask off because he'd think, oh, it's friendly, which is, I mean, that was stupid writing, because no scientist would ever just walk into a foreign thing like that and be like, oh yeah, let me just touch it real quick. It was dumb. But when it happened, it mutated him, and then whatever he was messing with was just kind of becoming a problem too. And then anything else it touched those little worms on the ground, and it made them like those big old things. But as it kind of stated through the end of the movie, when because she was asking all these questions about like what's going on and stuff, and she's asking for the audience so we could understand. And then of course Michael Fassbender's character David, he's asking all these questions too. And I guess the whole idea about this whole movie, which really Scott was trying to put out, was like just like creation. Like I started, and then kind of evolution kind of picks it up, and then that's why we don't see the original alien that we know and love like throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, they just did a poor job of explaining it, of doing it. I thought, at least.
Yeah, and like I said, there are things. Like I said, it's an ambitious project, and the one thing I always give crap to filmmakers is whenever they try the same thing over and over again. And we've been talking about that. Alien's been doing that, and I think really Scott was just trying something new. And sadly, it bit him in the ass a little bit, but. I think it got a little bit too much hate, and I feel like it needs a little more love. But like I said, I was at your house the other day, and you were watching, going, "Yeah, I don't really care," and I'm like, "Okay." So
it was your fourth favorite too. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like it was ambitious, and the other ones that were trying to come back and bring back the Alien franchise in the right way weren't doing it either. So this was the best one, and it did allow, of course, you could have this now spiderweb of new ideas that could allow a lot more going on, and that's fine. Like I said, they're trying to build a world. That's fine, but like as the audience, like, hey guys, we kind of like the original idea of what was going on, and of course, in the original Alien, this was the spaceship that they landed on. So it was kind of important. It was connecting it to the original Alien, which people, for 40 years have been wanting to find out what's going on. And then it happens, and then all it does is kind of just confuse people. And they're like, okay, I guess I don't know what's going on still.
Yeah. It didn't stick the landing or bit up more than they could chew, or whatever you want to say. Yeah.
I feel like, I forget the actor's name, but the main actor, she was great. The French actor, but she was great, and I thought she was a good character. But then in the second one, they just kill her off real quick too. I'm tired of these stupid decisions. I don't know why. Like they feel like they can just kind of mess with the audience, because the audience is not, like I said, we're not stupid. We know what a good quality Alien movie looks like, and you guys are doing these kind of weird decisions sometimes.
Yeah. If only we were in charge.
Then we would be making a Star Wars fan film right now.
Oh, wait. So that takes us to last but not least, right? Alien Covenant, right?
That one, I don't think, is that the last one?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is last one, yeah.
That one, I remember the trailers. That's the most recent one. Like what? Not even 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah,
maybe?
it wasn't that long ago because I think did I watch that? Did I watch that with you? I think I did, right?
But yeah, I mean, the Alien looked the best they ever had in that one, of course, because they special effects are off the charts now. At this point.
Yes, and there were a couple parts I remember, like in the trailer, it shows a part too where it shows the alien that's not quite the alien we know, but it's still really cool looking. It's the one where that kind of jumps on their ship and it kind of does that thing like in the trailer. And I remember thinking that it's a little different, but it's so cool looking. I am okay with that, and I was excited for the movie. And I remember they're saying okay, and not only that, but it's rated R, and we're gonna kind of go back to the original feeling again. And the movie definitely had decent qualities to it, but
Good things here and there, yeah.
yeah, good things here and there. And the whole I remember the whole spore thing where they were on that island and they you bump into something and that's what caused the goo stuff. And I'm thinking that was kind of a cheap little way of putting it out there. And okay, whatever. And then they breathe it in. All of a sudden they start like changing. Like that's when you saw that one guy that was like, "Ugh," and it was like coming out of his back, which was really like disturbing. It was
Creepy, but
you could see it like coming out of his back, and I'm like, ugh. And there was cool things, but sadly,
I think, yeah, the David scenes, great name, but horrible stuff was going on when he's talking to himself and blowing the flute and like making love to himself, basically. I was like, I want to fast forward that every time I get to that part in the movie. It's just boring. I mean, they're trying to make it more artistic or something, but.
And the sad thing about his character too is, first of all, Michael Fassbender is an excellent actor, and the character itself was fine. I had no problem with I liked the character. It was a really interesting version of the robot. It's just that they had the two characters being weird with each other, and even though I see what they were trying to go for, it was corny, but Michael Fassbender was excellent in it. But
Yeah, and you kind of knew they were gonna he was gonna kill one and pretend to be him later on, like he did. Like, spoiler alert, but. Like he just put on his clothes or something, and eventually they're like, "Wait a second, you're not the real David," or something. And
yeah,
I remember
find out at the very end where it's like, "Oh, you've been duped," and then you find out, and everyone else in there is like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no," and he's kind of standing there like going, "Go to sleep now," and then
Oh yeah, I remember that. And then he controls the ship at the very end, huh?
And that tells us too, like this is a guy who, because in the Prometheus, he asked a question to that other guy who he got sick on purpose. That in the water, when he put the little thing in the water, he goes, what would you do to find discovery here? And the guy goes, I would do anything. And he goes, okay. So then he puts it in the water and he gives it to him and he drinks it, and that's whenever this whole thing starts. And it's all because of that. And David's kind of played this whole almost the narrator for us in some kind of. He's the kind of tells the audience like this is what's happening. He's telling and he does a good job doing it, but there were times I'm like, I don't care about this. I care about the aliens part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they would have cut that down, it might have been a little better film.
Yes, and then they had a couple actors in there that I really liked. That they were, Danny McBride's that funny guy that's always in those movies. James Franco was in the very beginning. It shows him being burned and stuff and dying in the explosion. But there's a and most horror movies and these kind of movies aren't very good at doing that. But most movies can't establish a way to make you sad or scared for all the people that are in the movie. And this one's another example of like, hey, I don't really necessarily care. And they were trying to, and I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to be like, oh, all these families are like oh, we're all husband and wife. They were trying to like make us feel like, oh no, don't kill that because then that will happen. And I did feel like at times, but at the end of the day, it's still like, no, just you can kill whoever. I don't care.
Yeah. They need to work on their story and character development or something. If they make another one.
Well, there was a rumor that it's been rumored many times that it might come back soon, but there's a rumor that they're going to continue to try to go back to the original concepts, like the Alien 3.
Is Sigourney Weaver going to be involved?
I don't know how she could. Unless they're going to do the whole
She's not
princess.
that old.
No, but she's in her late 60s. I don't know. If they want to have her as like, oh, you've been sleeping, but the problem with that is like it was like 60 years when she woke up and she was like
Yeah.
5 days older. Now you're like, oh well, they'd have to explain, which they could probably figure a way to do it pretty easily. But they just say, hey, she's actually in her late 60s now, but she's still. But again, it's going to do like what the Terminator franchise did and try to redo it again. But they keep on kind of like messing it up, and it just still kind of like the first two are the only real. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people might disagree with me, but I still think that Dark Fate was actually pretty good.
Dark Fate.
The very last Terminator movie.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Alien. Like,
Oh, we are. I was making a comparison, saying that
Oh.
they kind of screwed up their franchise, which Terminator kind of did screwed up. But I would say personally that I thought that and Arnold's character was I liked Arnold's character in this one. He was kind of like he was the one who killed John Connor, and then he had to live with the situation afterwards. And I thought it was kind of like, hey, I did this, and then I kind of became part of your world for a while, and I kind of started understanding, and now I'm like, hey, I've been helping you this whole time because of that, because I realized, and I thought it was just kind of a unique little thing, even though it was kind of weird that they killed John Connor, and it was good.
yeah, it was real good. Yeah, and the opening was like they made them look just like they did like 20 years ago. Like Sarah and John, they looked the exact same.
And he looked good. I was looking at it going like, I don't really see the fakeness that much. So that's a good job, guys. But yeah, it did. But the problem with these movies, the Alien movies too, is they keep on making these movies that are kind of all like, hey guys, we'll try it again next time. Sorry. And I was like, well, okay, I guess. But soon I'm going to be like, guys, you guys are making these characters look stupid.
Maybe they're caring too much about the special effects and the aliens than they are the story or something. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's too bad, but there's so many good things about these Alien things, and especially the first three. I would say I've had so many good memories watching them. I remember I watched the third one in theaters, and I think that came out like 91, 92. So we would have been 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, and we were in theater. And I remember it's the first movie and the only movie I've ever walked out of because I got scared. And
Really?
yeah, and the movie is not necessarily scary, but there was a part where they have this like slow burn of, and this is what makes Aliens great. They have this slow burn of like, oh, I'm in this really big room, and I'm looking around. I know the alien's somewhere near me, but I have no idea where. And it's just like
Yeah.
a slow burn of me just walking around, looking around, and hearing a sound. Oh, okay, no, that wasn't it. And it's just like your heart's like, just show the damn alien already. And then just like a little bit longer, and that's what makes it good. The anticipation. And the first two movies were so excellent at that. And the third movie was pretty decent at that too. And I remember I walked out of the theater, and then I told myself, I was like, I have to go back in because I'm enjoying this movie.
Were you by yourself or with family or
I was with family, yeah, of course.
did they like come on you wuss get back here or what? What was that? What happened?
No, I remember I told my dad, and he was supportive. He was like, yeah, of course. And then I was like, I'll be right back. And I was probably outside in the lobby looking at the posters for 10, 15 minutes. So
Getting your underwear, getting the pee out of them.
I know, seriously, yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and man up and go in the bathroom real quick and get rid of this, and I'll go right back in there, and then piss myself again. But yeah, I think the best thing about the Alien universe is the scary monster in the big house kind of feeling, and that's what the first few movies did very well, and then they started kind of changing the pacing a little bit of it, making it more just a little bit different and changing the tone, which you, like you said, you like those a couple of those movies really well, and a couple movies you don't like real well, and then same thing for me. So a little bit of here and there excellence in most of the movies. There's only a couple that I was just like, no, I don't ever want to watch it again. But there's the Alien universe. It's just been so special for me, and I just love how so many great things came out of it. And like to this day, I will say the actual Alien itself is top 1 to top 3 best makeup looks I still enjoy to this day.
These aliens are like not the traditional aliens that are the big tall head, big eyes. These are like more like insect looking, and they were more creepy looking. I mean, regular ones are scary too, but these ones are more like, I don't know, they're not like walking straight up like humans and flying their circle spaceships. They're like creepy looking.
Right, they're like they're more like you said, like insect looking, where they're like, oh, they're like almost like prey, like I'm gonna get you, and where the other ones were just like, oh, you're walking close to me, and you're getting closer. But there was one thing that I always thought that was really cool about the original Alien look, that was how there was an actual skull underneath the dome that you see, and you can barely make it out whenever you're watching the movies, but you can kind of see a little bit of a skull underneath the actual alien face, and I remember it kind of haunts you, because if you look up some pictures, which I'll put on the screen for everyone to look up right now, it's scary in itself. You're like, oh, you guys have a very like disturbing demonic looking skull, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing I would love to see, Bud, and I'm sure you'd like to see it too, but how cool would it be if we could have some kind of like alien Game of Thrones style TV show? It's a really good story that's put into like 10 episodes, and each episode's like 45 minutes to an hour long. I would love that.
That'd be cool.
Absolutely. And of course, that's kind of where we're going as when in terms of entertainment anyways. It seems like we're just like, hey guys, if we can make a 10-hour movie every year for you guys that is part of the next one too, would you be down for it? And everyone's like, well, yeah, of course, because you have all these amazing shows like Breaking Bad and whatnot that have proved that you can have a 300-hour movie. Yeah. So I mean, if Aliens is another prime example, they could maybe show the evolution of it like Prometheus style, but show it through a TV show. I'd be fine with that too, but
that'd be sweet. Of course, any more AVPs or even regular Aliens or Prometheus style movies would be fine. We'll be in the theater to watch them. No matter what.
I'm down for any of those as long as their goal is to try to keep the love of those franchises in there and then try something new and original.
Yeah, don't suck them out of a spaceship, please.
Seriously, yeah. If it has to be something like crazy, like, hey, I have a samurai sword and I'm gonna stab you, but your ass is gonna kill me. We're gonna kill each other. I don't care, but don't suck the alien out of the damn thing again. I'm tired of that too. Yeah, good call, man.
We get the point. Yeah, I think we got everything. I think we're good to go.
Perfect. Okay, well, hey, everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And David, thank you, as always, my friend, for doing this with me. We always have, and I get excited because we already have our topics like ready to go, and I'm not going to tell the audience what we're doing next because it's a surprise. But these are things that you and I have watched repeatedly with each other that we've talked about for hours and hours. So it's fun to talk about it with you now, because now people get to see like, oh, you can tell these guys have talked about this many times. So so thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for talking about awesome Alien franchise with me.
No problem. It was fun. On to the next one.
Yes, I like it. Perfect. All right, man. Well, you take care and you have a good night, and everyone else, you take care as well. So thank you for coming, guys, and we'll talk to you later.
Peace. Man, there's something in my stomach's hurting lately.